Sorry.
How many can you put on this boat? You know, I will, I do have my, it's a long.
Here, you good?
I usually try.
As soon as I'm gonna get.
You're great. You're great. You're great. Alrighty, everybody, we're gonna get started again with.
Well, that'll come to an end one day, so that's good.
Alrighty, ladies, sorry, we're gonna get started again, just so we can keep on track, and yes, we are recording. Yep, we're good, thank you. Alrighty, so we have Stephanie, who's gonna be talking about the Fountain of Youth, 3 steps to replenish Jing and unlock your second spring at any age. So take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Stephanie Ogilvy, and also known as Stephanie Hrehirchuck, which is the name that I write under. Thank you. And I have a question for you all. Who would like to have more energy? Sleep better, wake up in the morning, know that I've got all the energy I need to get through my day, right? Who would like to know that where that fountain of youth is, so you can dip your cup in it any day at any time? Yeah, I would too. So if any of you figure it out, let me know. Okay. I think I figured it out, and I actually think traditional Chinese medicine figured it out thousands of years ago, and I just clued into it. So I'm going to talk about what I believe to be the secret to the fountain of youth at any age of your life. And what I believe that is called Jing. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we have something called the 3 treasures. And the funny thing is, I was first introduced to the 3 treasures through the light cellar. It was the original location. I bellied up to the elixir bar when it was brand new, and Malcolm had the 3 treasures drink on there. And I thought, that's so cool. What is that? I'll take one of those, please. And I never gave it much thought. It just felt good. I felt good when I had it, and I kept ordering every time I came in. Well, I've since come back around to these 3 treasures and realized there's a lot of magic in knowing what these 3 are. The best way that I can explain them is Jing is essence. Qi is energy. And Shen is spirit. And the analogy that I love the most that I heard, we're going to focus on Jing, is a candle analogy. So when we have this beautiful candle and the wick, this is Jing. So Jing is condensed energy and potential. Right? This is our Jing essence, life force essence. The wick, when we light it, this is our qi. So this is energy, life, movement, motion, right? There's qi in our body, there's qi in the air around us, there's qi in our food, there's qi in the ocean, there's qi in the sky, there's qi everywhere. And it's this living, breathing, active force. The light that comes from the candle is Shen. So we need this in order to light that, in order to radiate Shen. The cool thing about Shen is, you know, when you meet somebody and they have light in their eyes, that's Shen. Right? Their Shen is very strong. Shen is associated often with the heart energy. But we're going to focus on Jing because for a long time I realized I was running off qi. And I couldn't figure out why I do so well for a long time. And then something would happen, you'd move, or you'd have to do some sort of life transition, and suddenly you're exhausted again. When you were feeling so good, and you'd have to rebuild all over again. And it occurred to me, I'm running off qi, but my candle looks like this. So there wasn't a lot of foundation, there wasn't a lot of Jing essence happening. And I was working with a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, and she said, I think we're going to focus on your depleted Jing. And it was like a bell went up. And suddenly I went, oh, Jing, yes, Jing, that's the key, that's the magic. We need to focus on this Jing. And what I remembered about Jing, this life force essence, was the saying that all the Jing you're born with is all the Jing you get.
Yeah, the essence.
That's it.
I think of the essence.
Pardon me?
I think of the essence.
The,
The essence, yeah, the Jing, yeah.
yes, the
essence.
Jing, the essence,
Yeah, the
yeah.
same, yeah.
That when you're born with your Jing, that's all you get for your lifetime.
Yeah.
And that everybody's born with a
Yeah.
different amount of Jing. So Jing is associated with the kidney energy, kidney channel. Kidney is associated with water. So I like to think of Jing as a well, right? It's your well of water. And everybody comes into this lifetime with a different amount of water in your well. Your Jing in part comes from your parents. So you come into the world with your Jing store. And some people have this great big full well of Jing, like my editor. She just like always looks amazing. Her skin looks amazing, rarely has a health challenge. Mariah, I'm knocking on wood for you. And just has a beautiful big full well of Jing. Whereas other people, myself included, just feel like I'm constantly working on my health. And every time I think I have the answer, I'm doing everything right, I still find myself depleted. Which means I maybe came into life with a little less water in my well than my editor. But it really had me thinking, okay, is this true? We come into life, we've got this bit of water, and that's it? That's all we get? Like once we've used it up, we're done? No, I started researching, I started contemplating, I did a deep dive into the Jing well and said, hang on, there are 3 steps that we can do to replenish that well at any stage of life, so that we can have as much energy, as much wax and wick, so we can light our flame and radiate our Shen into the world. Now, the interesting thing about Jing is we come into life, with this well, and often we deplete it early on in life. So there's a saying that for how you live the first 20 years dictates the last 20 years of your life. That is Jing. That is absolutely, if you use up that Jing well in the first 20 years, you are drawn from a dry well for a very long time, unless you know how to refill it. So some of those factors we can control, but a lot of those factors we can't control. And most of us have already been through childhood, so there's nothing we can do about that. But we can look to kind of the generations coming up and keep an eye on what is some Jing leakage. Now, Jing is there for us to use, right? We're supposed to dive into that well every day, use it for our energy, for our activities. The problem comes when we're leaking Jing. And in our childhood, that can come from inflammation, injury, illness, stressful situation, disharmonious family. If children have to look after an aging or ill parent or grandparent or a sibling, all of that can draw on their well when they get into school. Peer pressure, parental pressure, teachers, assignments, after school activities. They're getting older. Now they're on social media. That might be drawing on their Jing depending on how they're using it. They might have after school jobs, after school activities while they're still going to school, while they still have parental demands, while they still have peer pressure, while they're still trying to people please. All of these things are pulling on the Jing. They get into their late teens. Now they're working. Maybe they're in university. Maybe they're, out in the world. They have a relationship. Maybe they're partying, not sleeping. Those pull on the Jing, right? So not just using the Jing energy, but leaking the Jing energy. Getting into your 20s and 30s. Now we have to look after households and finances and the cost of living, and we're still working, and maybe we have a partner. Now we have kids and nobody's sleeping, and the Jing's just spilling everywhere, right? Into your 40s and 50s. You might have kids, you might have parents to look after. The sandwich generation. You get where I'm going with this. There's a lot of Jing spilling out all over the floor. There's a lot of holes in the well. Now, we don't have any shame or blame or guilt or judgment over how we've lived our lives. We've lived our lives. However, we can say, oh, my well might be a little dry. And we usually hit that point in midlife when we literally feel dry skin, dry hair, dry eyes, dry mouth, dry. Right? Our Jing is depleted. Our wax and wick are low. And so we're trying to run on chi, but we never quite feel that sense of vitality. 3 things we need to do. The first step, stop the leak. Stop the leaks. Plug the holes and stop the leaks. We can't replenish the Jing if we have a leaky well. We're going to be bringing in all this Jing essence, and it's just going to be going right back out to those same things that we've been leaking to for years. So we need to stop the leaks. The 2 biggest leaks for Jing are inflammation, what is called in TCM false fire. It requires a substantial amount of the body's energy to sustain an inflammatory response. So we need to do whatever we can to settle down inflammation in the body. So if there's been some kind of a niggling dental issue, don't let that fester. Get that looked after. That's a substantial amount of inflammation. Gut health, right? A lot of people think it's, you know, the buzzword, gut health. No, gut health. A lot of inflammation stems from our gut health. So working with a functional nutritionist or a nutritionist can help with the gut health. Any inflammation in the body, any inflammatory response coming from stiffness, soreness, we need to address that, right? So working with your healthcare team in calming down the inflammatory response will conserve a lot of that Jing energy. The second leak comes from chronic worry. This guy running all the time is drawing that well. And you can say, okay, well, what are you going to do about chronically worrying? Stop it. Just stop it. It's like the old Bob Newhart spoof when he's the therapist and he gives you 5 minutes and the lady tells him all the problems. And then he goes, yeah, stop it. She's like, but, no, just stop it. The quickest way you can stop worry is to watch it. The moment you notice you're worrying about something, flip the switch. Okay? I find the most effective way to do that is to go from worry to gratitude. Okay? I had to drive in from Cochrane this morning. I got to drive in from Cochrane this morning. And, you know, it's, oh, well, what's the traffic going to be like? You just, in that moment, you notice it, you just switch it. What a beautiful morning. Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm warm, and toasty in my vehicle. So grateful for the Christmas carols on the radio. Grateful for Malcolm and the light seller in my community. You just switch it, replace it with gratitude. And what happens is when worry is outgoing energy or expenditure of energy, gratitude is cultivation. So not only are you plugging that worry leak, but you're drawing energy back into your body. The same can be said that the worry factor is the kidneys, the emotions connected to the kidney is fear. It is fear. And most often our fear comes from a perceived threat that isn't real. And so we're constantly worrying about something that's going to go wrong because we're afraid of it. But guess what? It's not even happening right now. And yet we're leaking all this into it. So you really want to draw that Jing back and stop that worry. But the same goes for complaining. Notice how many times your mind just starts to complain about something. Yeah, stop it. Same thing, gratitude, right? Oh, the traffic's terrible. Oh, I'm getting mud all over my windshield from the truck in front. What a beautiful day for a drive. I have my nice vehicle that I can get from here to there. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Just flip that switch. Notice it and then change it. Right? Complaining, explaining. Particularly women, we have this habit of explaining ourselves. Mary Poppins says, no complaining, no explaining. No explaining, right? We don't have to explain why we do everything we do. Make good choices, don't explain them. When you notice yourself leaking energy to these, just stop it. Grateful. I'm grateful I'm here. I'm grateful I'm making these great choices. It's not a great choice. I'm going to find out right away. I'm going to make a different choice. I don't have to explain myself. Judgment, right? Regret, resentment. I mean, we can list all those emotions all day long. those are just stealing your Jing. They're just stealing your Jing. So, and it can be easy to say, oh, but it's hard to shift out of worry. Oh, but it's hard to stop the mind from complaining. It's not when you suddenly realize that's my Jing. That's my energy. Like that's going to bring moisture back in my body. That's going to stop all this dryness. That's going to stop my joints from aching. That is part of why I work so hard every day to try to get a good night's sleep. I don't have time for that energy to be going away. So as soon as you make that connection, you will happily pull that energy back to you, right? Because that's your vitality right there. So let the mind know who's leading, right? Take a seat. We're gonna feel some gratitude and recover some Jing. So that's the first thing you need to do is stop the leaks, right? So that you've shored up your well. And now the water that you have in there, the Jing essence that you have in there, you can use that to do more of the things you want to do. The second step that needs to happen is we need to remove stagnant energy. We need to get the energy systems in the body flowing more freely, better communication between the organs and the tissues. When we've had a lifetime of suppressed or repressed emotions or chronic worry, that can start to stagnate energy in different parts of the body. And then we wake up and go, oh, I've got a frozen shoulder, I've got that pain, I'm not sleeping great, all these things start to happen. So we need to get the energy circulating through the body's meridians. Once again, that's where we're working on the movement of Qi, the flow of Qi. And the best way I know to do that is through Qigong. Partly because I'm a Qigong instructor, and partly because Qigong was literally developed for that purpose, right? To remove stagnant energy, to get the body's energy system flowing, to get all of the organs communicating with one another, to improve your vitality and your energy. So we've stopped the leaks, and now we've got to move the energy. Now, of course, yoga is beautiful for this. Hiking, walking in nature, dancing, chanting, right? The voice is a great way. If you're not able to physically move energy or very deep-seated stagnant energy in the body often can be dislodged through the vibration of the voice. Right? So chanting and singing can move a lot of energy as well. And it doesn't take much. You don't have to join like an hour-long Zumba class to do it. And these very simple practices. If you all actually want to join me, stand up and we'll do a very short, simple Qigong practice. Get everybody energized. You can do this anywhere, anytime, especially if you find yourself sitting a lot during the day. Do this several times. If you have a spinal project or a brain project or a health project you're working on, just be very gentle and kind with yourself. So you're going to take your feet about hip distance apart. And all you're going to do is bounce. And the bouncing comes from the quads, right? So it's just the quads that are working. The rest of the body can come along for the ride. So you breathe in through the nose. And then you check in. Can my low back release a little bit more? How about the belly? Can the belly relax? What about the shoulders? The shoulders relax. The jaw. And we invite tension to leave the body. Maybe we bring the arms up. Shoulders stay down. The wrists and fingers are relaxed and loose. Just let the body shake, 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 shake it out. Move the hips. We're inviting any tension to leave, any stagnant energy. Just let go. We can bring those arms back down, and maybe we twist a little side to side. We unwind the spine. Breathe deeply into the spine. And then we stop. and we notice. There's maybe tingling, or a little alarm, a little sensation. That's chi on the move. That is stagnant energy moving its way out, fresh chi coming on. You can have a seat. Thanks for playing Qigong with me. There are hundreds of forms of Qigong around the world, so you can jump into any style, anytime. Simple practices, just like that, just bouncing, right? Several times a day and allowing that energy to move, right? So we want to move stagnant energy, open up the flow, right? Open up the energy channels of the body, because we're preparing the body to replenish the Jing. If we, again, just like the leaks, if we skip that step, we go, well, I plugged the leaks, let's just replenish the Jing. Well, but if, this part's not moving up to this part because there's a big stagnant energy block here, well, that Jing energy is going to get stuck, right? We're not going to have that free movement. So we want to open up all of the joints, all of the channels, get the body happy, and then it's ready when we do replenish, our body happily receives all of that monthly.
How do injuries affect that? Like where you've had injuries that left you with significant physical damage that have like damaged your joints or damaged ligaments or damaged nerves or things like that. How will that affect?
Qigong is actually the best thing I have found for that. I've had 3 spinal injuries now and 2 traumatic brain injuries. And, kind of moved from, I was a personal trainer, nutrition and wellness, women's strength training. I was a weight trainer, went into yoga after the first spinal injury, it's a pretty aggressive yoga practice, then into Kundalini yoga, next spinal injury, just Qigong. So I found for me, the Qigong was the most healing of the practices I was doing. And it allows me to work within my range of motion. And honestly, if your Jing is so depleted, after my more recent spinal injury, movement was very limited. I would lay in bed and mentally run my Qigong practice. I still do that. I laid in bed for like an hour this morning and I did like this whole beautiful Qigong practice just in my head, even though I can stand and do an hour-long Qigong practice. I still love that. But when you are very depleted, then that's what we do. We lay down and maybe we put on a guided meditation and we just run it through the body. Years ago, I had the great pleasure of studying with Dr. Jing Houston, and she had us all, we were online. Each of us were to lay down and she was guiding us through a hip opening sequence. And I taught yoga previously and used to love to do that whole full strapped hip opening sequence. And it was really hard for me to lay down and not, no, let's do the sequence. So we laid down and I followed her, mentally rotate in, externally rotate, and not moving a muscle. Then she said, get up and walk around the room. And I was in my home studio at the time and I got up and I walked around. And it was exactly like I had just done the full sequence, even to the point where the hip I'd mentally worked was open and the other hip was still tight. So then we laid down and did the other side. So in answer to your question, when you have injuries or if you're in quite significant depletion, you do what you can. Qigong is gentle. It's about being very gentle with yourself. So the practice could be seated, could be laying down, and maybe start running it mentally. And then at some point, maybe there's some gentle engagement with the body. Just whatever you can do. It might be 5 minutes. It might be an hour if you're feeling strong. But we invite mentally those channels to open, and they will. It will work. Where was I? So step 2, we've opened up the channels of the body, whether mentally or in physical practice. And now we are ready to replenish the Jing. So different ways, traditional Chinese medicine recognizes two main ways to replenish the Jing. There is a third, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. The two main ways are through nutrition, so nourishing the Jing through your food, and the other is through herbs, tonifying the Jing through specific herbs or Jing essence. The food part is fun because you can just add that into every meal you make. You can think, oh, what's a Jing nourishing food? Let's bring that in. Again, because every single person is unique, your constitution is unique, your nutritional needs are unique. It is best to work with a functional nutritionist or a nutritionist, or maybe you have a naturopathic doctor you're working with, or someone that can advise you, particularly if you have medications that you're currently taking. So you always want to make sure that you're doing things that are suitable for you at this time of your life. Simple things that you can add in. The big thing with the kidneys, so remember, we're kidney energy. And this is another really important thing about getting your Jing straightened out. The kidney energy also supports reproductive health, the spine, and the brain. So think about midlife, menopause, andropause. Where do we start having health projects? Reproductive, spine, hurts, brain fog. All on the Jing line, on the kidney line. So we really want to pay attention to this, because this is the kind of health we want for that fountain of youth, that longevity, right? We want to have clarity and strength, right, and vitality. So with the kidney energy and the water, we can think water. Water is good for the kidneys. Warm water. Even in Ayurveda, yoga sister science, like Qigong and TCMR, ice water, not great. Not great for digestion. Ice water, not great for kidney energy. If you're working with kidney depletion, you definitely want to look at a warm water, or you can do what we call yin yang water, which is half a cup of boiled water and half a cup of cold water. You've got the yin and the yang mixed together, and then that's beautiful. And then, of course, water's so receptive, we would want to say something very lovely into our water before we drink it. Thank you for nourishing the Jing. Thank you for nourishing my kidneys. Thank you for nourishing me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Water. A little pinch of salt in your water. Just a little salt. We don't want a lot of salt for the kidneys. A little bit of salt, very good for cellular health. I found this black lava salt on the shelves. The color, we talked about the emotion of fear. We talked about the element of water. The color associated with the kidneys is blue-black. So the foods that we would use to nourish the Jing would be blue-black foods. So black lava salt. We've got the salt and we've got the black. Black sesame seeds. You can put those, I put those sometimes on my oatmeal in the morning, or sprinkle them on whatever dish you have. Black forbidden rice should not be forbidden. So also good for nourishing Jing. We've got black mulberries. Now with, I would rehydrate them. So if you had a dried berry, because again, think Jing, water, right? So juicy. So we would want blueberries and blackberries and juicy fruit, but you can rehydrate. But if you have a dried fruit, just go ahead and rehydrate it. What else do we have? The blueberries here. And then go into that water element, shellfish. If shellfish is suitable for you personally, seaweed, kelp, these things from the ocean, good for kidney, nourishing kidney energy. So I've got the sea veggies and the dulse. What the fun things. Just kind of shop the shelves of the late summer. If we go to the reproductive, we can look at nuts and seeds and pollens and eggs. Okay, so pine pollen, there's a lotus pollen. I actually have this one. I kind of put it on everything. I found this green tea pollen. There's bee pollen, and again, if it's suitable for you, then look at which one of them, you don't have to add everything and maybe pick a couple things. Eggs, of course, if it's suitable for you, that can be very easy. And eggs, again, with the reproductive element, very nourishing for Jing. The brain and the spine, I didn't want to grab it out of the freezer. Bone broths. Bone broths, right? So great. Also good for gut health, but very nourishing for brain and spine health, right? So good for the Jing energy. So any of those can be easily brought in. These are tinctures for pine pollen, right? So they're already in that liquid form. So that could be an easy way to nourish Jing. The herbs, I would always suggest you work, I'm gonna put this guy under herb, but goji berries. I would almost put that over here under food. Goji berries are also nourishing for Jing. I would recommend when you do get into the herbs that you are working with a TCM practitioner, with a naturopathic doctor, with an herbalist, with someone who can do a specific formula for you. Because what will happen is typically when you go and are assessed by one of these professionals, they will look at your unique needs and have a blend and have a personal formula. And the tonifying herbs for Jing, they also work nicely with some tonifying herbs for Qi. So that could end up in a blend. The herbs most often used, we have Ramania and Shazandra. I found a Restore the Jing powder. It's already put together here. Again, you're going to want to make sure, especially if you are on current medication, you want to make sure that everything's going to work for you at this time. I studied with Dr. Vasant Lad years ago, an Ayurvedic doctor, and he said, if something doesn't work for you, don't blame the plant. It's not the plant's fault. It's not the right plant for you at this time, right? So you have to make sure that you're always working within your own needs, your season, what is nourishing specifically for you. There's also orchids that are used in TCM, ligustrum, which is wild privet, Ramania, asparagus root, and Shazandra are some of the herbs that are used to tonify the Jing, restore that Jing essence. There is Jing essence in all of the organ systems, but the greatest well of it is in the kidney system. There's a funny story about, this guy. So this is probably the most well-known, Hishu Wu. And there's a funny story about Hishu Wu. It's named after a man named Mr. He. A couple hundred years ago, I believe. And Mr. He was kind of, it's only 58, but he had the appearance of being very old and frail, and he was impotent and just had no vitality, really struggled, was never married. And apparently there's different versions of the story. One of it is he got drunk one night, passed out in a field, woke up and noticed these vines in front of him that were kind of intertwined, he thought, like lovers. And he thought, oh, these are so very interesting. I wonder what this is for. And so he asked everybody in the village. Nobody knew what this plant was. And then the village jester came along and said, oh, that looks like a good divine potion for an impotent man. You should try it. You should just try it. And so Mr. He thought, fine. And so he dug it up, he consumed the roots, and not much longer, he started having this sense of vitality. All of his gray-white hair went black, and he completely revitalized his whole system. He married and went on to father many, many children. And there's two different stories of him, one living to age 130 and one to 160. So if you hear that story, the Hishu Wu, people will usually, attribute to, I want to get rid of my gray hair. I need to get on some Hishu Wu. Again, you want to pick the plant that's right for you. So you want to work with someone who can advise you. And we've all been there with something comes out years ago, I used to order astragalus out of the US, right? Easy to get. I just get a little thing of it when I ran out of orders. One time I went to order it and they said, no, we're all out of stock. And I thought, how can you be out of stock on astragalus? And I looked all over and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was looking up all over the US. No astragalus. So I contacted the company that I first dealt with and I said, what's going on with astragalus? Is there a shortage? And she said, yeah, Dr. Oz featured astragalus on his show last week. And now there's a shortage. And I couldn't help but thinking, you know, it's like, yay, Dr. Oz, you know, thank you for promoting astragalus. But I couldn't help but wonder how much that astragalus just ended up in the rubbish. Right? Because somebody got excited about it, but then didn't know how to prepare it, or the dose, or is it working for me, or how will I know? Should I blend it with something? And then, you know, a week later, it's just in the trash. So I did that with Heishu Wu. I will admit, I ran out and scoured the city when I was like, Jing depletion. I know what to do, Heishu Wu. And I got some Heishu Wu powder, and then I got home and went, I don't know how much to take, and when should I take it, and should I mix this? And suddenly realized, oh, I just Dr. Oz the Heishu Wu. So I did what I thought the responsible thing was to do, and I blended it for a hair tonic. And then I went to my TCM doc and said, could you please do a personalized formula for me for restoring the Jing? And that's exactly what she did. So it is great to work with someone that can craft a formula for you and then can follow up with you. How are you feeling? How's it working? Adjust the formula, tweak it as you go, right? So that you have personalized guidance. Usually, the Jing tomifiers work quite well and quite quickly. So within 3 months, people tend to feel much better, much more restored. I typically notice within a few weeks already. The caveat on that is you've stopped the leaks. You've prepared the body. Now you've replenished the Jing. Otherwise, you could be spending money and time and working with practitioners, and it's just leaking back out to all of those old holes that you've had for a long time. So we build up the wax and the wick first. And then when we do have the chi, we can support it. We can support it for a long time. And then we can light our shen and radiate that out into the light. And that gives us access to the fountain of youth.
There are some other packages there. Are you going to explain those?
Well, we have the sacred lotus pollen here. Yes. And we have the green tea pollen. This is the Restore the Jing. It has some different herbs in it. And then this is a Shizandra berry powder. And we should look. Do you have any questions for me?
I hear all of what you're saying, and I wonder how supposed to like diagnose or anything. Have you had a lot of people with ADHD, because I just got diagnosed with ADHD, and as I look back, I went, oh, that's why. And so I do find a lot of no energy because of this. So, and researching, I know like my brain is wired differently. So I would still have to maybe, I guess, experiment with the different herbs and foods to see which food is suited for my brain. Right?
That's exactly right. And working with someone who can help you to adjust that. I'm not a doctor of Chinese medicine again, I'm a teacher of Qigong. I do know though that Qigong is very beneficial for balancing the body and the brain, right? And helping to bring that rising energy down. There are other practices, and I actually talk about them in the book. Alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana. Honestly, I've been teaching Nadi Shodhana for decades because bar none, I think it's one of the best things you can do. That's alternate nostril breathing. It strengthens corpus callosum, balances left and right hemispheres of the brain. And I did do a dive on ADHD in kids. There was one small study done on the nostril breathing and the engagement of the brain in addressing ADHD. So just another piece you could maybe pull into your routine as you're working with your healthcare team, anything that's that mind-body balance, right? So breath work, qigong, and then working with a practitioner, of course, to figure out which herbs and which blend of herbs would be beneficial for you, for sure.
Is that just like closing one nostril, breathing? And
Let's all do alternate nostril breathing.
Is that how
We can
you?
do it. We can always do it. So there's different ways you can do it. I mean, if you're really tired and depleted, you know, it looks like this, and it could even be on your back. I like 2 fingers. You can use the right hand in the center of the forehead. So what this does is this draws the energy of the mind into one point of focus. Okay, the mind is always moving, so we want to bring it into this little pressure point. Take the thumb and close, not down on the fleshy part, but just under the bone, so you block that nostril. Then inhale through the left. We block the left, open the right, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right, block the right, open the left, exhale left. Allow the breath to lengthen and deepen. Inhale left, block the left, open the right, exhale right. Allow the body to relax. One more, inhale right. Exhale left. And then you pause, let the breath come back. Awesome. So you can start with, 2 or 3 minutes a day. Again, as your energy allows, there's a magic spot around the 11-minute mark, and the research has shown 20 breath cycles, which will put you about that 11-minute mark, where the whole nervous system does what I call a downshift, right? And you'll feel it. There's a point where you just feel yourself settle in. And then when you stop, take a few moments, let the body sit in that place. We're always talking to the cells. We're always changing the messaging in the body. We're always inviting the body to, okay, feel this. Notice this sense of well-being. Feel more of this. If we do our qigong, bouncing, shaking, and then we take a moment. So we invite the body to notice how we feel. More of this. If we smile, because as soon as we smile, the body relaxes. More of that. So you do your alternate nostril breathing, and then you take a few moments. I used to do 11 minutes of alternate nostril breathing and then just 11 minutes of sitting in that beautiful space. It's a really great way if you have a meditation practice or you've struggled to have a meditation practice. Breath is the gateway to meditation. So do your alternate nostril breathing and then see if it's easier to slip into some beautiful quiet meditation. Mind the body settles.
I have 2 questions. Do you do live qigong, like in person?
Yes, I do.
Oh, where?
I teach qigong currently at Spray Lake Sawmill Center in Cochrane.
At where, sir?
Spray Lake Sawmill Center in
Okay,
Cochrane.
thank you.
I do teach there, and then I will be doing some online programs as well, so that I can reach my folks that are not in the Cochrane area.
And also, could you recommend someone who could give you a personal herbal concoction?
Concoction. My TCM doctor is Dr. Wickert. She's in Cochrane.
Okay.
She's gonna go on maternity leave in a few weeks. I'll warn y'all.
Dr. Wickers?
Dr. Wickert.
Wickert.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But she could, if you contacted her, she's at Shifra, SHIFRA. It's a beautiful women's maternity clinic.
Oh, that's the name of the company.
Yes,
place.
you could ask her and she could probably recommend someone in Calgary. Yes, who could work with you because she's in that TCM community. Yes.
Can you tell us a few words about brain fog? What's good for just to improve the brain fog?
I'm sorry,
Brain fog.
Brain fog. So big things for brain fog. I mean, work on the kidney, the qigong, right? Getting the brain and the body and the breath connected, right? Can help a lot with that. getting things out of the mind. Right, because we got a lot going on up here, so writing things down. Instead of trying to remember things and then getting upset because you're forgetting things, just get it out of the mind so we can free up some space and write it down. Your breath work, right, bringing the oxygen into the body and then connecting that mind body. And then, of course, working with a practitioner who can also supplement you when you work on that. Yeah, for sure. You're welcome. It's a thing. I'm telling you, I was like, am I even gonna connect the dots as I talk to you? It happens, right? Any other questions?
Alrighty, so yeah, we're at the end for you, unfortunately. You can, so there's a little table set out there, I don't know if anybody told you, but if you're able to stay afterwards.
Yes, I will stay.
With your books, then you can connect with Stephanie out there.
Is this your book here?
That is, so this is the 3 steps are outlined in here, plus practices to help you. Lifestyle practices to help you with those
Can
3
we
steps.
buy it out here?